Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I am joined this evening or this morning, wherever you're watching this. I'm joined by Callum Sanderson today. How are you doing today?
Good, bro. Not too bad. Not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Some good positive news that Callum can't talk about as of yet because
Yeah,
nothing's been signed
yeah.
or delivered yet.
I got
So
the white
let's,
tape here to just.
yeah, no, but swiftly moving on. This weekend, UFC 314, Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. Just before we get into that, make sure you hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button. Make sure to sub to Callum's channel in the description. Also, sub to Jamie Phillips Football Chats link in the description as well. Unfortunately, Jamie couldn't join us. I think something came up last minute, so hopefully everything's all right with Jamie. But make sure to sub to his channel as well. But Callum, let's get down to business. UFC 314 this weekend. Alexander the Great Volkanovski going after the featherweight belt again against Diego Lopes. Obviously, we know Ilya has vacated the belt to pursue the gold at lightweight. You're looking forward to the event because the card looks
I
pretty good.
I ain't gonna lie, Luke. Like this card looks pretty good, like really good. I'm extremely excited. The last card we did together what was it? The London card,
Oh,
and that was a bit of a bore, wasn't it? Like this one, I expect fireworks from the very first fight. So I'll be honest, I've been looking forward to this preview because obviously we did combat catch up last night, right? And
yeah.
I had to muzzle myself and not say as much. I'm ready to let loose now. Like I do think this card's going to be very good. 315 also looks really good. 316's taking nice shape as well. But yeah, 314's a card I've looked forward to for a little while now.
Yeah, definitely. But let's touch on the main event because obviously Diego Lopes gets a shot to fight for the belt. Obviously, this should have been against Ilia Topuria, but we know Ilia did the rightful thing to vacate the belt to move up. So it gives Alexander Volkanovski the opportunity to step up. Obviously, some people looked at it and went, "Really? This guy's 1-3 in his last 4. Should he be really be getting a title shot off of his name value? Shouldn't it been like Evloev versus Lopez, run back a rematch?" So do you think that it was justified from the UFC to like give him the shot against Lopez?
Yes and no. Yes, because he did some great work at featherweight and he only lost once at featherweight. But no, because he's coming off the back of 2 knockouts, even though one's in a different division. So it's a tricky one. Plus, there's no other standout candidate for a title shot apart from Evloev. And I just don't think the UFC are that keen on giving Evloev a title shot because he's not the most exciting fighter. I think this was it's always meant to be Volk versus Ilya in the rematch, which
It is who, yeah.
I didn't think that was a wise move. But look, I'm not mad at this main event. I can understand why Evloev might feel a little hard done by. But I think Lopez deserves it as well after his brilliant win over Brian Ortega.
Yeah, because obviously Lopez has sort of, I think he's undefeated in his last 3.
He's only lost once in the UFC, I think. That was to Evloev in his very first fight
It's
in the
Evloev.
organization.
Like since he lost to Evloev, he's beaten Gavin Tucker, Pat Sabatini, Sadiq Yusuf, Danny Gay, which was like fought like Danny
4
Gay
hours.
cool hours before putting a great fight, and then he beat Brian Ortega in September. So he's put on a nice collection of wins gradually, going up the difficulty level. And look, he is more than deserving of a title shot. With regards to the Volkanovski thing, I've got like the rankings open, and you're pretty limited for choice who you're going to give it to. And look, if Lopez beats Volk, you're thinking, look, Lopez gets a big scalp. He beats one of the greats in the division. But if Volk wins, you're sort of looking and you're thinking there's a couple of fighters that are, on this card that could be looking at potentially fighting him. Potentially, there are some fresh matchups in the division. Big up, Cringe Gov.
Big up.
Big up. So, what are you thinking? Like, who do you think the division benefits more from if they won?
Lopes, because in fact, you say that though. Let me just have a look at the rankings as well, because I could say that, but at the same time,
Because
Volk,
Max,
Ortega and Yair, has Volk fought any of the others?
it's not for Allen, it's not for Evloev, not for Murphy. Obviously, Pitbull's on the card as well that we'll touch on later, but not for Pitbull. Aaron Pico's not in
I
there.
actually don't think I don't think that one player has more of a say in this, because there are so many fresh faces now. Obviously, no Max Holloway, no Ilias. That's straight away off the table. He's beaten Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez, but that was long ago. As you said, Lerone Murphy, Allen, Sterling's in there still. You've got Evloev now, Lopes. If they have a close fight, they could rematch. There's fresh blood in the division for him. There is fresh blood. However, the other side of the argument for Lopes could be that he would just be a new champion and a fresh champion to take on because he's not fought Yair. He's only fought Ortega out of that list. So if he fights and beats Volk, and then you've got a whole range of matchups.
And plus, like, people are like always concerned about, look, if Volk wins it, is he going to be as active as he once was? Obviously, with the age. Obviously, he's debunked that, saying that if he wins, he wants to fight literally 3 months afterwards against Evloev.
Yeah.
And then depending on how other fights go, he wants to fight again 3 months after that. How realistic that will be all depends on how much damage it takes. Which I don't think he would fight every 3 months. I know that he said it. I just think with the body, his age, I do think he.
I think every 4 months is more realistic for Volk.
Yeah, but he'll definitely be an active champion. But
I think Lopes would as well, though.
Yeah, Lopes is an absolute madman.
He's a machine. He's crazy.
Anyone, anytime, any place.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Like, he'll fight he literally was waiting for like an opponent, and he just rolled off the couch, as they say in America, to sort of fight him at UFC 300.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the fight. What do you think Volk needs to do differently compared to what he's done in his last 2 fights to really stand a chance against Lopes?
Footwork. In the Ilya fight, when he was going backwards with his head in the air. Can't be doing that. So footwork, keeping the chin tucked, offsetting Diego Lopes' rhythm and not getting into a war, but also do not get into grappling exchanges with him when you don't need to.
Yeah.
Like the one thing I will say with Volk that he slept on is his submission defense. Islam couldn't submit him, and Islam submits people. Like, we've seen it now. Ortega couldn't submit him. Ortega submits people. Volk is difficult to hold down and submit, but you don't want to give that chance to Lopes because his jiu-jitsu is absolutely insane as well. So for me, those are the main keys to victory: offsetting his rhythm, footwork, head movement, and keeping the chin tucked, and avoiding grappling on the ground.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest thing, because obviously Lopes is very, if he can get past the first round with Lopes, because Lopes is the most dangerous in the first round. If he can get past the first round and sort of drag Lopes into the championship rounds, where Lopes hasn't been in this position before, then I think that would be key for Volkanovski, because I feel like Lopes will probably feel like he's got a limited window to sort of get Volk out of there, because we've not seen, Lopes in a 5-rounder before for the belt. So this is completely new for him. So we don't know how he's gonna.
We also saw him gas a little bit in the Ige fight.
Yeah, we did, and
gas a little bit in the Ige fight.
Yeah, definitely. I do think the cardio for Volk is key, because if Lopes puts the gas pedal on the first round and then gasses out, Volk's gonna
Volk's gonna piece him up.
Volk's gonna piece him up like he did the Korean Zombie, man.
Yeah, piece him up.
So that's the big worry. But if Lopes can sort of manage the gas tank, so he can go into those later rounds, then I think it's gonna be. I got it down as a really tough fight, but I still back Volkanovski, man. I still think he's one of the best in the division. I don't, but that Father Time's undefeated for a reason. I just don't know whether or not.
I'm gonna go against you here, Luke. I think Lopes gets to win. I think Volkanovski's not the same fighter after having those knockouts, and I unfortunately think for him, being the age he is, I think it's a bit of a slippery slope. He reminds me a little bit of what Izzy's going through at the moment, in the sense of he was so far ahead of everyone and now everyone's caught up. I fear the worst for Volkanovski. I actually think Lopes stops him in the second or third round.
Do you think this is Volk's last fight at featherweight?
If he loses, yeah.
If he loses.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a fear that he retires?
No, because I still think he's got the fight in him. But if he loses this fight, I kind of don't want to see him at 55.
Yeah,
because
55 would be
a murderer's row. Unless he wants to fight maybe a Poirier. He could fight a Poirier, for example, in his retirement fight. But even still, that every fight at lightweight for me would be a massive risk if he loses this fight. And I don't know if it's a risk worth taking.
The size, the length, the reach, Volk would be giving up massively to be a permanent fixture of 55.
Yeah,
for me, and they'd have to pick his fights very carefully.
Very carefully.
But I'm going to go the opposite to you. I think Volk's going to have just enough in the tank to get through the 5-rounder. I don't think it'll be a good fight to begin with, and then I think Volk will drag this out into deep waters, and I've got Volkanovski by unanimous decision. So let's hope I'm right in that, because I'd love Volk to hold gold again. But could this be a time for the new generation to go, look, you've had your time, you've had your run, now it's my turn now. But make sure you tune in to the watch long on Sunday to find out. Massive shout out to everyone that's watching. Make sure that you hit the like button, share button, and subscribe button. Co-main event, the People's main event, Michael Chandler versus Britain's own, this Liverpool's favourite son, Paddy Pimblett. This is,
I'll be real with you.
Co-main. This is a 5-round.
I think this is a nice layout for Paddy. I've got to be real with you. I think this is a nice layout for Paddy. Paddy needed a fight in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Chandler is the most winnable fight for his style in the top 10 because of how Paddy fights and because of how Chandler fights. I think this is a potential layup, and this is the fight that could potentially catapult Paddy to superstar status globally and get him close to the title. And the reason I say that, they've positioned him nicely with the Tony Ferguson fight, positioned it nicely with the Bobby Green fight. So two legends, both on the way out, on losing streak. Now it's Chandler, who's also lost his last fight, where you sit there and you go, if he beats Chandler, the guy who's meant to fight Conor McGregor, who did tough next to Conor McGregor, the guy who has fought Oliveira twice, to fight, fought Poirier and Gaethje and Hooker, and if he goes out there and beats him like I think he will, it legitimizes Paddy, and it gives the UFC more credibility in terms of what they're trying to do with him.
I have to say, you hear Chandler, he is 2-4 in the UFC.
Yeah.
His last win was 2022.
It's Ferguson, right?
Against Tony Ferguson.
Look, it's crazy. He's not had a great run in the UFC. He's had a great run in terms of fights and moments, but in terms of resume-wise, it's not been great.
What happens when you're elite on the mic? It covers up for what people remember in the octagon, because people will remember what they hear on the mic afterwards. And look, I do agree with you. This is a perfect opportunity for Paddy. People know that I have been quite critical of Paddy Pimblett, the way that he's fought the holes in his game, about him potentially not taking it as seriously, with the ballooning up in weight. I didn't like the way he conducted himself, building up to the Jared Gordon fight. The fact is that he got a very dubious decision. And then instead of doing what most fighters do, which is, be a bit humble, knowing that you probably got away with one, and then coming out all guns blazing, he didn't. He sort of doubled down on it. Then against the Tony Ferguson fight, I don't think it was that great against Tony, I don't think it was that great.
I think he was in the first and second round.
I think he settled into it towards the third, but the first 2 rounds, I thought, oh, this ain't good as you bounce back.
Yeah.
But since then, Paddy fought Bobby Green, smoked Bobby Green, which is exactly what the doctor ordered as like the tonic.
Like smoked Green. Like, it wasn't even. But then you look at someone like Ruffy, what he did to Bobby Green, and you're like,
oh my days.
Because that for me is knockout of the year. So
he literally did like the McGregor stuff with the stance and the karate kick. I'm like,
Ruffy's got the knockout of the year so far for me.
Oh yeah, 100%. And look, because I've got the top 10 open. Chandler 7th.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the guys above, but like you're looking below that to 10. Gamrot, Dariush, Moicano. You're looking out the Chandler in that list. You're looking thinking Chandler's got the biggest name and probably matches up the easiest
and the most winnable fight. Fact. The UFC matchmaking is to it. This if you are mapping out a fighter's career, this is how you'd map out Paddy's career. He fights and beats Chandler, and then for me after that, I think you aim to get Paddy in there with. I mean, Holloway and Max are gonna. Sorry, Holloway and Poirier look like they'll fight each other. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get him in there with Gaethje, if Gaethje doesn't get the title fight.
Well. This week, Paddy went on the podcast, and the host brought up about Arman Tsarukyan, and then Paddy had some nice words about Arman, called him a little posh boy, a couple of expletives. Obviously, that got Arman talking about, his whole career has basically been laid up. If Paddy gets the win, gets it convincingly, hops on the mic, calls out Arman, then that's Paddy's number 1 contenders fight, in my opinion, because the way that I'm seeing the division at the moment, Islam's waiting on the result for Belal Jack Della Maddalena. If Belal wins, Islam is defending his belt next, in my opinion. If JDM wins, there'll be an interim belt at 55, whilst Islam goes to fight Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight belt, if things happen that way. If not, then Islam will probably fight Gaethje.
Yeah.
Charles will probably fight Topuria. Max will fight Dustin.
At least Tsarukyan, you're right.
And then at least Tsarukyan, because unless Gaethje's not going to get the title shot and they're going to force Makhachev to fight Ilya, then you're probably going to do Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, like what was originally supposed to happen. But I do think, look, if Paddy wins, Paddy goes 7th. Arman's won. The beef's already there, man. The beef's already there. Paddy's got no other beef with any of the other guys in that division, apart from the number 1 contender. And of course, he's spoken about Islam, but apart saying that he could beat him, nothing derogatory.
Yeah, spoke about Ilya as well, but obviously he looks like
Ilya, but they're building that up because if any of them gets the belt, then you can see that being like a money fight, long-term story. the money, the story sums it up, really.
All right. What I will say about Paddy calling him Sarukian Posh and all that, I think as fight fans and fighters themselves need to stop doing this whole because someone comes from a wealthy background, they can't fight. There's an argument to say those who come from a wealthy background and decide to get into fighting are probably more dangerous than those who saw fighting as a way out, because they're doing it for the pure, unfiltered, unadulterated love of fighting. Whereas there's always there's that silver lining for someone who doesn't come from his wealthy background. So I think that's the first thing. Sarukian, again, probably matches up quite well with Paddy, but again, Sarukian does have good power in his hands as well. He's an unorthodox striker, but his wrestling and grappling is excellent. But with Paddy, because of the level of your jiu-jitsu, he's a threat for these guys. I think strikers, like pure strikers, like a Poirier, and I think Ilya would be a tough fight for Paddy, and also even Oliveira, because Oliveira, I mean, jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu, I'd love to see that. But Paddy, I'll be honest, we may have got it wrong a little bit. Paddy may not be as far away from a title as we thought.
No.
After that Jared Gordon fight, I think we all sat there and went, he ain't winning the title in UFC. A couple fights later, we could have been so wrong.
Yeah, like I've been pretty critical by saying like he'll never win UFC gold, because I think you see the chin hanging in the air and you're thinking, oh,
yeah,
good power puncher, connects, and then you're thinking shit. And as I think Chandler might pull it off. Like not fear. I haven't seen Paddy get like a proper smack yet, and I need to see whether or not what's he gonna do when he takes a hit off Michael Chandler. And we know Michael Chandler's got power in his hands. I want to see what Paddy does when he gets stunned, because if he can sort of like get through that, then I'll be like, okay, I think the fears of him having a glass chin, I'll be able to put that to bed, sort of thing. Yeah. But if he gets like dropped and then he's like, oh shit, Chandler's gonna finish him, I'll be a bit like, ugh, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see something that's so obvious, and throughout the career, nothing's really changed about it. I know Tom Aspinall did the thing on TNT when that's just a Paddy thing. Like I hear that hole in his game.
Yeah, the thing is, though,
am I just reading?
Who's to say that Paddy didn't get touched in the Bobby Green fight?
True.
Who's to say that he gets touched in the Chandler? I genuinely look. I really like Chandler. I know a lot of people find him cringy and all that. I actually really like Chandler. I got a lot of time.
He must be a nightmare to coach, by the way. He must.
Maybe. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, not maybe. He is, because you'll have a game plan and he'll just throw the game plan out the window. But I think that will play into Paddy's hands. Like, we're not going to see Michael Chandler changes. Michael Chandler will sit there in the dressing room before a fight and be like, okay, this is with Henry Hoof, and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'll map it out. The moment he gets out in the arena and he feels that electricity and that energy, the game plan's gone. I think Michael Chandler just does camp so that he's in fighting shape.
Lean shape.
Yeah, I don't think he does it to game plan and all those things. I might be completely wrong, but from the way he fights, it's just a case of, I just need to be fight ready. I need to be my body conditioned, and then we'll go in and do what we do. But we've seen Michael Chandler can do 5 rounds at a good pace. We haven't seen that from Paddy yet.
Yes, of course. And I'm just having I just feel like with this, it's a 5-rounder though. So I'll be very interested to see how Paddy does in this, because I think this will be his first 5-rounder. I'll be very interested to see how he copes cardio-wise. Look, there's no fear of him not being able to make weight. We know what Paddy is like when he's outside the camp. He likes to get a little bit bigger. He said that's not happened as much recently, which I hope so, because if you want to put yourself in title contention, I need to see you ready to go at a drop of a hat.
Yeah, agreed.
Pardon me, type of thing. So, predictions, Callum. Can Paddy pull off the biggest win of his career?
Yeah, I think Paddy wins by submission, and I think he does it round 3. In fact, round 2. Going for a round 2 sub.
Woo-hoo.
I think Chandler might catch him in the first round, empty the gas tank a little bit, come out in the second. Paddy changes up the game plan, gets him down, and submits him.
I'm gonna go round. I'm gonna go round 3 sub. For me personally. So that's what I've got with regards to that. Third fight on the card. Yair Rodriguez versus the debutant Patricio Pitbull, former Bellator featherweight and lightweight champion. How are we feeling?
This is a big one because I think this fight, we spoke about how open the featherweight division and who would be the best winner for out of Volkan and Lopes. For me, and I say this with a heavy heart because I really rate Yair Rodriguez, and he's aesthetically one of the best fighters to watch with his kicks and some of his techniques. I think if Patricio wins this, I think it injects life into the featherweight division, because if there's one criticism of the featherweight division, outside Volkanovski, there are no real personalities in there that are really captivating to the casual fan or to the audience. I think Patricio changes that, and I will go as far as say, I know I said this on Combat Catch Up. If Patricio gets a win in a dominant fashion or gets a viral moment, he gets the next title shot. Worst case scenario, he fights Evloev in the number 1 contender spot, but I think he'll get the next title shot.
In these situations, I go, there's no way that happens. But then I remember it's the UFC, it's Dana White. If he feels a certain way, shit tends to usually happen. I think with this one, I do slightly agree with you. I do feel like that if he gets the dominant performance, if he smokes Jair like within the first round, I'm going, you know what? Better fucking play. Yeah, the next title shot you go against Volkanovski, and let's be honest, I don't like using the term much, but let's be honest, when they're both in their prime, that was a dream fight. Pitbull versus Volk.
Yeah.
That was like a dream fight. And look, the big concern is Pitbull's 37. Has he arrived in the UFC too late for him to really, or is he going to do the Michael Chandler? I'm not here for a good time. I'm here. No, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. He's going to put on some absolute bangers. He might lose some. He might win some. Or is he here for gold?
I think he's here for gold, but he's not got a lot of time. He's not got a lot of time. It's so annoying because if these fights came over a couple of years earlier, it'd be crazy. But for whatever reason, it didn't happen. I'm happy he's over here, but I don't think fans are going to see the best version of Pitbull, like the Pitbull that was terrorizing fights, the Pitbull that ran through Chandler, for example. I don't think we're going to see that Pitbull in the UFC.
Yeah, so like he's literally his last 4, he's 2-2. Like his last win at Bellator was Bellator Series Belfast when he beat Jeremy Kennedy, you know, in round 3 via TKO. Then he lost to Chiro Suzuki in Rising FF by KO. Then lost to Sergio Pettis back at Bellator 297 when he was trying to go for the Triple Crown. Fought Pettis at bantamweight, lost by decision. And then he beat Kleber Urbis at Rising 40 Bellator versus Rising back in December 2022. So it's not been... Obviously, he's got the win. Obviously, he's fought AJ McGee, beat McGee. He's lost to Benson Henderson. You know, so he's had an elite career. And like my big fear is that he's coming a bit too late.
Yeah, I agree.
If he wins, like it's fresh life, it's fresh matchups. He also mentioned, I'm not going to touch on him like in detail because he's not on the card, but he did talk about Aaron Pico, who has been signed with the UFC.
Yeah,
They were supposed to fight Bellator versus PFL, so we potentially could see that matchup in the UFC potentially.
that'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
Look, Pitbull's got loads of. I think Pitbull's going to be sort of like Michael Chandler. He's going to have fun fights. I actually do expect him, if the opportunity arises, he will fight at 55 and give some of the dream fights at 55 that if wanted. Potentially him versus Gaethje, him versus Holloway, him versus like a Dan Hooker, Charles, sort of thing. So I do think he's going to give us some dream fights as well. But with regards to this one, I think he's going to beat Yair. I don't think it's going to be convincingly as you think it could be. Cal, I do think it'll be a decision win.
You think he beats Yair? This is one of the first shows where this is like we disagree on more than one fight.
Like it's such a tricky one.
I think Yair smokes him. I really do. I think Yair smokes him. I think Yair keeps him at kicking range for the first few minutes and then starts walking him down and starts landing some horrible shots. And I think he gets him out of there. I think he gets him out of there in the first or second round. Yair's got a point to prove as well.
I think I have to agree. I just think the age is a big factor. Like
age is a massive
Michael
factor.
Chandler
UFC jitters as well.
Pardon?
The UFC jitters as well. Chandler said it. MVP said it. Everyone said it. The UFC jitters hit different.
Joined the UFC, he was 34. This is different. He's coming in at 37.
Was Chandler 30? He was, wasn't he? Yeah, because the pandemic. It was what 2021.
Yeah, he came.
He was on the Conor McGregor Poirier 2 card.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
that's crazy. Time has flown. I remember that like it was yesterday.
I know. I remember staying up to watch it, and I got bummed out that McGregor lost. But hey ho, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to agree with you on this.
We had never even spoken then. Had we? I doubt. I don't even know if we had. Maybe maybe a few conversations.
What, that one?
I don't know if we definitely hadn't worked together at that point.
Dustin Poirier versus McGregor 2. I will have a look. So Chandler's been here for a hot minute. That's 2021. No, it was literally a couple of months later is where I reached out.
Yeah, we'd never spoken before that.
That's 4 years ago. Over 4 years ago. Because that was the co-main event. First round KO of Michael Chandler.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because wasn't it like the first card of 2021 or something like that? Wasn't it January or something?
That was literally the week before Max Holloway pieced up Calvin Kattar.
Oh, yeah, on ABC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was brutal. That was a beat down. Bloody hell, that was a beat down.
Speaking of potential beatdowns, the next fight, everyone's favorite fighter, Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silver in an exciting matchup. We could potentially see what people want to see, and that's Bryce Mitchell KO'd. Obviously, those two have some, what's the right word? Some very interesting interactions together. Is all I'm gonna say. What do you think about this matchup, Callum? And should really be Bryce Mitchell be getting this type of stage, considering the controversy he's been pulling up recently?
What's the one thing Dana loves more than anything as it pertains to business?
Controversy.
And that makes
Money.
He's loving this. He obviously doesn't like that Bryce said what he said because obviously it put the UFC under a spotlight. But he's loving this. What's the first thing? There's two horrific things that have been said from UFC fighters, in my opinion, recently. Three, actually. Colby Covington, what he said to Leon Edwards in the press conference.
Pay-per-view
The Bryce Mitchell thing, and Conor McGregor throwing out the N-word on Twitter. Conor McGregor is not irrelevant. Is irrelevant as it pertains to UFC right now because he's not fighting. They could brush that one under the rug. What did he say after Edwards and Colby had that back and forth? He said the pay-per-view increased or went up by 25%. What was the first thing he said after Bryce was caught or said what he said? The fun thing about what we do is you can pay your money and watch him get knocked out. Dana, hands down, is like, cool. Not ideal what he said, but definitely going to make some money.
We can shield you, and as long as we can get you in the octagon ASAP so we can make some money out of you, then it's all good. Because if you get knocked out, we get what you want. The fans get what they want. You don't get what you want because you get an L. But we get what we want, and that's the most important thing.
But here's the flip side of it. If Bryce wins, if he wins, it's a win-win for Dana because, as you said, if John Silver goes out there and knocks him out, everyone's celebrating and everyone's happy. If Bryce goes out there and wins, then there's the clamor for who do you put next in with Bryce so Bryce gets his comeuppance.
Josh Emmett. Sorry, Josh Emmett.
Yeah, literally.
That's what we need.
But that's how I see it. It's a win-win for the UFC, right? Not ideal. The controversy is not ideal, but it's still a win-win for them because they benefit off it.
It is 100%. It is. And look, Bryce shouldn't be getting this opportunity, but it's business.
It's
unfortunately it's business. Predictions.
This one's a tough one. Because John Silver's never fought anyone at Bryce's level. Bryce has fought people at this level. Bryce doesn't like fighting power punches, though. We saw it against Tapori and we saw it against Emmett.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a Bryce decision.
Do you think Bryce comes out with the Bible like he did in the Apex?
I hope not, because the thing is, I'm a Christian myself, but Bryce ain't helping the cause at the moment.
And if he does that, does Gene Silver hang off the gauge like he's done before the UFC?
Possibly. I think that's another thing. I think Gene's going to be so emotional going into this fight that I don't actually think it will work out in his favor. I think Bryce will just continue to take him down.
Agreed. The last fight on the main card, I believe it's Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes.
The John Jones Conqueror.
the John Jones Conqueror.
This fight's massive for Krylov because if Pereira wins his belt back and does it in sensational fashion, Alberg and Krylov are the two fighters that he hasn't beaten.
If I said to you, Krylov is younger than Dominic Reyes, what would you say?
Insane. I'd say that's insane.
Dominic Reyes is 35, Krylov is 33.
In fact, no, I'm not going to be that crazy because Dom's been around for a long time now. He actually has been around for a long time.
So he made his UFC debut back in 2017.
Yeah, because I remember he fought. I remember watching because when we were on a honeymoon, he fought Ovin St. Peru on the Khabib McGregor and McGregor card, and he scored a knockout win with like a second to go. I think it was. He got a walk-off KO, and then obviously after that he fought. I feel like he fought someone before he fought Jones. After he fought
Chris Weidman, beaten by KO. Chris
Weidman came up from 85. Look, Reyes is someone who's good, but he's not the same Reyes that fought John Jones. And
John Jones,
Krylov's ready to take over from Reyes now.
That John Jones fight took everything out of him.
Yeah.
Then he lost to Jan. Then he lost to Yuri.
He got beaten
by
up in it,
Span,
but Jan and Yuri gave him
but he
beatings.
wasn't getting like, oh, it's a tight split decision loss. He was getting smoked. He was getting highlight reels.
He was getting battered, and then he lost to Ryan Spann as well, right? Got knocked out by Ryan Spann.
But he is on a 2-fight winning streak, beat Justin Jacoby, and then beat Anthony Lionheart Smith. So he's on a little bit of a he's on a 2-fight winning streak. So whether or not he gets back to title talk is a completely different situation. But
yeah,
Krylov, 30 wins, 9 losses, 6. So he loses by submission. Krylov,
yeah,
6 submission losses. He's 3 wins in a row. He's not fought in over 2 years.
Yeah.
So he's won his last 3. Gustafsson back in 22, Oezdemir in 2022, and then Ryan Spann in 2023. He's only lost to like Paul Craig, Ankalaev, Glover, Jan. So he's only lost to what you say is the creme de la creme of the division. Predictions. I've got Krylov by submission.
I've got Krylov by unanimous decision.
I can see that. Unless Dominic Reyes can roll back the clock, I think this is a pretty.
If he can roll back the clock, then
it'll be good for him because, like, I've got the rankings open. Krylov's 8, Reyes is 11th. If Reyes wins, he goes 8th. Then you're looking at potential rematches. Could he rematch a Jan? Could he face a Jamal Hill? But I think Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree are going to get their fight rebooked. I
think if I'm the winner of Krylov and Reyes, I think they try and push for the Oldberg fight if they're smart.
Oh yeah, especially after the performance he did against Jan, where people are going, "Are you sure you want that fight?"
Yeah, you push for that fight,
especially. But I think that'll be it for this evening. Callum, massive thanks for joining me.
Pleasure, my brother.
And everyone that's tuned in, because they've got 40 people here across X and YouTube. Big up for tuning in at the early hours in the morning. Because as soon as this finishes, I'm hitting the hay straight away. I'm sure that Callum can say the same afterwards.
Yeah, I know I sound like I'm crazy. I'm gonna do like a 20-minute workout, shower, eat, and then go to bed. In fact, you know what? I won't actually. I'll go gym tomorrow morning. Actually, no, I'll eat and go to bed because all I've had today is a bowl of fruit and a packet of crisps. I've just had such a busy day.
Damn.
So yeah, I'll eat something before bed and then have a shower and then go to bed and then go gym in the morning.
Callum, you got anything you want to promote that's coming up on the Sanderson Show, Coppish?
Sanderson Show, going to potentially do a show on Big Up tomorrow, just like a relaxed quiz cow show where people can just ask me anything. I'll also do a 5-minute preview. Now we've done this as well, just doing a really short breakdown, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I might do some of the prelim fights potentially, and then on the Sanderson Show, we'll be live for the watch along on Saturday night / Sunday morning. On Coppish, I think we've got a show with Hassam and Tom tomorrow, then preview on Friday for the West Ham game, and then West Ham watch along on Sunday.
So action packed. I'm sure. Hey, everyone tune in tomorrow for Coppish, mate, just to see if Callum's got the. Make sure that you tune into that tomorrow as well. Make sure that you're back on the Sanderson Show for UFC 314 watch along, everyone.
Bless you, bro. Appreciate it.
And everyone, make sure subscribe to Coppish, Sanderson Show. Subscribe to Jamie Phillips Football Chats, and also subscribe to this channel as well. My next video, I've got to be perfectly honest, it's been a bit hectic recently. I don't know, and
sorry.
Which is very bad of me because I should be getting a schedule, but work's been a bit busy at the moment, so I've had to sort of, sort of not put us on the back burner a little bit, but hopefully soon I'll have a set schedule that I can stick to. But until then, it'll be very much sporadic. But yes, everyone that's tuned in, massive thanks to everyone, and we will see you all very soon.